Assalamu alaikum. Yesterday we started off with a new topic, narratology, right? And narratology we understand as something that is closely related to structuralism, that which mainly deals with the telling of stories, how stories are told, what method or what are the common structures that you would find in the act of storytelling, right? So, in relation to this, we saw how Peter Barry seems to have visited a restaurant that got him thinking about narratology and narratological structures. In terms of this one, fish and chips, this menu that seemed to relate a story about fish and chips, corn and chips. Sorry. Okay, both are same. Fish and chips, corn and chips, both are same. So, speaking of it, he tells about how the main distinction between story and plot. The story would be something that is said straightforward, the events as related as it is, right? That would be story, and the plot would be the method in which the story is related, right? The method in the sense all the grammatical trappings, the forwarding or like the flashback, the sequence in which the story is related, you know the main points are related in a story, how it is structured, how the story is structured or presented is what plot is concerned with. And we saw several terminologies associated with a story and plot, fable and sujet, and history and receipt, and then another one of discourse, right? Plot is seen as discourse as well, right? So we saw these distinctions between story and plot that were from the fundamental narratology in different shapes and from different schools, coming from different schools. Now, basically, narratology, as I said earlier, would be looking at from three main perspectives. One is from Aristotle, the other from Gerard Genet, and the other from Vladimir Prop. Okay, Aristotelian, Propian and Genetian narratological concepts would be looking into. So yesterday we started off with Aristotle, and in relation to it, how Aristotle identified three very common concepts or sort of narratological aspects he seems to have identified in the tragedies of his time, right? The tragic plays of his time. So these three concepts we mainly deal with here: hamartia, anagnorisis, and peripetia. Please make a note of it. Try to get their exact definitions as they are presented, and try to understand them in relation to the various tragedies you must have come across. You must have studied it, part of Shakespeare studies, or even the more the more modern writers, okay. So, like as in any writer, Ibsen or probably any of the Irish writers, Irish playwrights, or the American playwrights, Osborne or Eugene O'Neill, or any writer for that matter, look into their works and try to identify the points of anagnorisis, hamartia, and peripetia in each work. Okay, so that would be your homework for today. Please make a note of it. Your identification of these concepts in other playwrights. So just choose one work. Make it a very short homework. Okay, it need not be a lengthy thesis. I'm not asking for that. Your assignment can be really very small. Make a short analysis of one text. Okay, one play or fiction, it's up to you. A novel, whatever it is, a short story, even a short story is fine for me. Choose the point of hamartia, choose a point of anagnorisis and peripetia in that particular topic. All right, that would be your homework for today. So, in relation to it, we understood that hamartia is that fatal flaw that seems to be the undoing of the protagonist, the main character, which seems to bring in a chain reaction, a chain of events that lead to the tragic downfall of the protagonist. Whereas peripetia, or rather the anagnorisis, where we see that the character recognizes or realizes his or her fault, the mistake, the error. All right, and peripetia would be where the status is restored. The status as in like mainly it's called the reversal of fortune. Now in classical tragedy, it is just a fall from high to low fortune. Okay, high to low estate. Whereas Peripetia is differently understood. Okay, in the sense that it could be reversal, as in like being restored to the former position. Okay, so it need not be tragic at all, except for in classical tragedy. Okay, so remember the distinction between how Peripetia is understood if in classical terms and in the modern term. Okay, in the classical term, what you would understand is Peripetia is the fall of state from high to low. Whereas in the modern terminology, you can understand Peripetia as something where the protagonist is restored to his former glory, former state of glory, okay, former state of being. All right. So this Breckie's cat food comic strip, you see where the cat leaves the paw prints all over the tablecloth, which has been just laid down by the owner of the pet for the aunt's visit. But then since it's dirtied, she's made to remove it, and the owner of the pet is angry at Bob. And then and the ensuing events as in how the aunt recognizes the table cover that is laid down for her is actually the one gifted by her originally, and it pleases her no end. And the owner of the cat realizes her mistake, and there is a reversal of fortune here, where the where the cat is replaced to its former former position of the favored pet of the family. All right, so I asked you to look into the book yesterday and see it more clearly, because it's sort of blurred images here. Okay, fine. Moving on, we'll just go through this once. Okay, I distribute the three elements amongst the figures involved in the story, partly because I believe that in using literary theory, we don't have to follow the maker's instructions slavishly. As in, the maker's instruction here would be Aristotle's instruction. Aristotle sticks to one particular idea, one particular thought, that Hamartia, Antagonist, Peripetia all belong to the protagonist. Here he has, that is, Peter Barry has divided these three concepts to three different situations and people. Okay, and partly in anticipation of the methods of Vladimir Propp, the next figure I will consider. So the hamartia or fault is the cat's leaving dirty paw prints. I hope the fonts are visible, clear enough for you. So the hamartia or fault is the cat's leaving dirty paw prints over the tablecloth, an act which brings reproof and condemnation. Oh, Bob, don't. And involves a Peripetia, fall from grace. So the cat is out of favor. Okay, yeah, there it is. First of all, hamartia would be fault is a cat's leaving dirty paw prints over the tablecloth, an act which brings reproof and condemnation. Oh, Bob, don't, as it's seen in this dialogue, and involves a Peripetia. Okay, Peripetia. So hamartia is the leaving of dirty paw prints. Now Peripetia, or the fall from grace, is a cat going out of favor. Okay, the fall is marked by the cat's literal descent from the table to the floor. So the cat, as you can see here, see, the cat leaves dirty paw prints, and he is made to go down, leave the table, right? So there is a fall from grace, literal fall from grace, from table to floor. But during the tea, the visiting and aunt notices with pleasure that the cloth now on the table is one she gave her niece as a present. Okay, the visiting aunt notices with pleasure that the cloth now on the table is the one she gave her niece as a present. Of course, she doesn't know that this cloth was not her niece's first choice, but we know, right? We know this, and from our privileged position as witnesses of the whole sequence of events. Indeed, we might say that the key to story of okay, this is sort of hidden here. The key to the storytelling is not the imparting but the withholding of information. Not imparting but the withholding of information. Again, a key concept most used by various writers to bring in a certain mysterious effect or quality, wherein we are made to witness things. We, as a reader and outsider, seems to know things that the characters within the play themselves are unaware of. So that seems to increase the intensity or heighten the intensity of mystery, of certain revelation that is long pending. Right? We anticipate how and when this particular point or this particular emotion or a thought is going to be revealed, in what way and what impact it might have on the other characters in the play or the fiction, right? So see, we know this from our privileged overview. We know this from our privileged overview position as witnesses of the whole sequence of events. Indeed, we might say that the key to storytelling is not the imparting but the withholding of information. Readers often know things that the characters don't, and vice versa, and narrators keep things back from both. The central mechanism in stories is delay. Okay, the main mechanism here is again a narratological aspect, wherein you delay the revelation of certain events, thoughts, or ideas, or incidents that have happened from being revealed, or or even occurring for that matter, so that with the delay comes a certain heightening of the intensity or heightening of the impact. Okay, increasing the impact. To be specific, delay in imparting this information. The Victorian novelist Wilkie Collins famously said that the formula for writing a successful novel is make them laugh, make them cry, make them wait. Like, you see, of course, the hero or the heroine, the protagonist, whoever the protagonist is, has to go through so many trials and tribulations before he or she finds a happy ending, right? Or a tragic end, for that matter. So what would have happened if Hamlet simply had gone ahead and killed his stepfather? What would have happened then? What about Gertrude? What if she had just recognized her mistake in her error in committing the crime of killing her own husband and marrying her own brother-in-law? What would have happened? Why the delay? Why does Hamlet procrastinate so much? Think about it. What would have happened if Hamlet, without procrastinating at all, right in the scene one, as soon as he listens from the ghost of his father, of his dead father, that his uncle has killed him, why did he not simply go ahead and take vengeance upon his stepfather? Why did he not do that? There won't be a story at all. If he had done it, if he had gone away impulsively, if he had taken the rash route and committed a murder, or taken up this vengeance, taken up his revenge on his stepfather and his mother, without any thought, without any deliberation or procrastination, there would not have been a play on Hamlet at all. There would not have been so many deaths. There would not have been the suspense. There would not have been all the long winding tragedy of Ophelia or Polonius or of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. It wouldn't. None of it would be there, right? So you see, it is delayed. The very according to Wilkie Collins, as Peter Barry says, the idea of relating a good fiction is to make people cry, make people laugh, and making them wait for things to reveal, for the end, to find out what would happen. And in the meantime, the writer's job is to hold the suspense, hold the interest of the reader. Because see, very often you watch a movie and you do not come off right in the intermission, right? It may be predictable. The ending may be predictable to some extent. You may already know what is going to happen, but still you wait. You wait to find out how things are going to come to a close, right? So this waiting, this delaying tactic is used amply by writers, and it has to be well used. It has to serve the purpose well, by bringing in the anticipation, the anxiety. That's what a fiction is supposed to do for you. Okay, the anagnorizes in the cartoon is the cat's owner's guilty of stage realization that she has missed an opportunity to show gratitude and proper feeling by using the guest's present when the guest comes to tea. This brings about a further peripetia. Now the main anagnorizes here is, what is the main anagnorizes here? First of all, the cat owner's guilty realization. It is off stage. It is not mentioned up here, but it can be deduced from how she feels sorry and is thankful, is grateful to the cat for having dirtied the initial tablecloth. She realizes her offense, her error in not having used the tablecloth given by her aunt in the first place, right? And this brings about this further peripetia, which is the restoration of the cat to favor, not a fall from high to low, but a restoration from low to high. See, peripetia are of two kinds. From, in terms of classical tragedy, it's a fall from high to low, wherein the cat is removed from the table and made to stay on the floor. That is one peripetia. Now this anagnorizes is bringing about another peripetia where the cat is restored to its former position as a favored pet, right? That is from low to high. The restoration is marked with thought bubble, thanks Bob, by the cat's expression of smirking self-satisfaction, and by its, you have to see that comic strip to actually see the cat smirking, right? I believe you're all familiar with Alice and her Cheshire cat, the goofy grin, the smirking cat, right? And by its literal raising up now to the favorite position on the knee slap. Aristotle's three categories are essentially to do with the underlying themes and moral purpose of the stories being very much about what might be called deep content, since in an important sense they all concern inner events. You have to remember again, from the narratological perspective, now when you compare Aristotelian narratology to Vladimir Genet's narratology, you would understand that this is more philosophical, more of an, more concerned with the inner workings of the story rather than the exterior part, where the focus is upon the character or what the character is supposed to do, where the stereotypes are made into being, and where there certain actions are of, of more consequence, right? This is more concerned with the inner events of a fiction, all right? A moral defect, the recognition of its existence and the consequence of its existence. So you see, it is mainly concerned with the recognition and consequence. All right, a moral defect. First of all, you recognize that there is a moral defect, there is an hamartia in place. Okay, and you understand the error, anagnorizes, and you face the consequence. That is a peripetia. The presence of these three is to discern beneath many narratives, acting as a generative force of the moral impact. They are often the psychic raw materials or ingredients which are cooked and transformed to make up a specific narrative dish or specific plot. All the same, in practice, a great variety of plots is possible in stories, and to describe these, we seem to need a different kind of system to Aristotle's, one which would give us a greater variety of possible actions and which would operate closer to the narrative surface, so to speak. Something like this was provided with the next of our three historical marker figures. Simply put, Aristotle's concepts of hamartia, peripetia, and anagnorizes would actually be the ingredients that would help, that are cooked and transformed to make a specific narrative dish, a specific plot. They seem to be under, they seem to be the generative force of most fictions, but to analyze fictional texts on a more on a more superficial level, or like something that more closer to the surface, we need other kinds of narratological concepts, right, based on certain similarities and distinctions. All right, and for this we will look into Vladimir Prop's concepts of narratology. All right. So Prop basically belongs to the Russian formalist school. We've already discussed plenty of times this Russian formalism and the important figures of that particular school. We've spoken about Roman Jakobson and Vladimir Prop and Eichenbaum. There were so many critics of the time. So these writers, these critics, were mainly focused upon the form of the text, right? So Vladimir Prop, he focused upon the form of folk tales, Russian folk tales, and in doing so, he identified certain similarities that were common to all folk tales. Okay, most folk tales. So based on this, he devised certain certain features, certain list actually. He made a list of things that were common in most folk tales, and he identified certain characters, certain stereotypes, certain stereotypical situations that seem to occur in rather frequently in folktale tradition. Okay, and please bear it in mind, it's not restricted to Russian folktales alone. It's common to even Aesop's fables, or even our own our very own Panchatantra or Chandamama. You would find them everywhere in whatever story setting we analyze. We'll be able to find these. We can employ the list provided by Prop. All right. Maybe a few, not all, maybe a few, but they will be existing. I mean, they cannot be, no folktale can be devoid of Propian list, at least as far as I have seen. Okay, so Vladimir Prop seems to have published his findings in his book The Morphology of the Folktale, first published in 1928. See, 1928 is a long while back, and narratology is a sort of not exactly very recent, but it's not that old. But then, see, this went out of favor. The Russian formalists, the school entirely went out of favor due to the various Russian revolutions or the communism in Russia that led to its fall. Right, so they were disbanded. Their books went out of favor. Their books went out of print. But later on, after the dust had settled, this was rediscovered. This book was rediscovered by Claude Lévi-Strauss. Okay, and this morphology of the folktale was, though it was first published in 1928, it gained prominence only in 1950s, 50s, and 60s. All right. So in this book, right in the foreword, Prop speaks of morphology. We've already spoken about morphology. You must have practiced morphology, wherein we look into the building up of words. The forms of words. So that's what study of morphology would indicate. Now here, morphology would indicate the building up or the formation of text, of tales, of stories. All right. So in the foreword, he speaks of morphology, meaning the study of forms. So the book is about the structures and plot formations of these tales, and there is nothing in the book about their history or social significance. So Claude Lévi-Strauss used Prop's ideas in his own studies of myth. The Morphology was first published in 1958 and later in 1968. Please remember all these three. One sec. Yeah. The first time it was published in Russia, then in English, and the second edition, 1968, in English. Once again. Okay. So Prop's work is, Prop's work is based on a study of his corpus of 100 tales. Okay. He analyzed nearly 100 tales, and he concluded that all these tales are constructed by selecting items from a basic repertoire of 31 functions, that is, possible actions. Make a note of it. He used 100 tales in which he selected items from a basic repertoire of 31 functions. 31 functions. That is possible actions. Now these functions are nothing but possible actions. No tale contains all the items in its list, but all are constructed by selecting items from it. The complete list of functions given in the book is as follows. So these are the possible functions. Okay, there are about 31 functions. Okay, so and also, as I said earlier, no tale has all these functions put together. There are just possible combinations of these functions. Okay, so you can select items from these and create a folktale of your own if you want, a tale of your own, a story of your own. All right, so these seem to work as functions. Please remember this: 31 functions. There is possible actions possible in a story. All right, so let's just give a brief glance over it. Number 1, one of the members of a family absents himself from home. Okay, does it strike a bell? Does it ring a bell? One of the members of a family absents himself from home. Something you must have read. How about Beauty and the Beast? There is Isabella. Isabella's father has left. He's gone out for his trade to another town, and Belle is left alone, right? And okay, fine. That is in terms of a fairy tale. Maybe something that you must have read in, say, let me think. Or probably Arms of the Man, and no, not Arms of the Man. All My Sons, right? There is the absence of a member in of the family. Then an interdiction, that is a prohibition, is addressed to the hero. Something, a sort of prohibition, some rule is laid upon the hero. The introduction is violated. Or even I'm reminded of Ramayana, wherein Ram leaves. Ram is not available at home, and there is a prohibition laid upon Sita, and Sita is not supposed to cross the Lakshman Rekha that Lakshman draws when he goes looking for Ram, who has not returned from hunting. Remember? The villain makes an attempt at reconnaissance. Well, there is something that appears to Sita that misleads her, that takes her away from the protection of the Lakshman Rekha, right? Or as in the case of Beauty and the Beast, she is made to leave, as in there is a reconnaissance in the sense where she is compelled to leave her home and go looking for her father, right? The villain receives information about his victim. Well, I cannot go further with Ramayana because my memory is blurred, and with well, but when it comes to the fairy tale, yes, we can go on. So see, there may be certain things that may or may not be available in a certain text, but it may be in something else. All right. So in this case, you could say the villain receives information about his victim. Say probably what was that? Lion in the Wardrobe. The Chronicles of Narnia. How there, the witch is informed of Aslan's return, or probably of all these princes and princesses coming to Narnia. The villain attempts to deceive his victim in order to take possession of him or his belongings. Again, you could relate to Narnia here. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Yeah, now I get the title. I was breaking my head over it. The Lion and the Witch and the Wardrobe, where Edmund is deceived by the witch, and is flattered and made to enter her glass palace or ice palace, right? So that she could take control of him. The victim submits to deception and thereby unwittingly helps his enemy. Or you could go for Harry Potter, where he's, Harry seems to unwillingly or unwittingly, without himself knowing, he seems to be helping his enemy at points, like Remember the point where in the Philosopher's Stone, I believe, yeah, in the Philosopher's Stone, where Hagrid um, speaks of Hagrid reveals the secret to putting the three-headed dog to sleep, so that anyone could enter the dungeon where the Philosopher's Stone is kept made safe. Remember, just for some basilisk egg, I believe. Not basilisk egg, no, dragon eggs, yes, for dragon eggs. So the victim submits himself to deception and helps the enemy unwittingly without knowing him or knowing it himself. The villain causes harm or injury to a member of a family, or 8a, one member of a family either lacks something or desires to have something. Remember the case of Cinderella, where Cinderella is made to slog for her mother-in-law and not mother-in-law, sorry, the stepmother and her stepsisters. She lacks any kind of recognition or even the status that is enjoyed by, by her step relatives, right? And she needs that freedom. She feels that she is the true heir of her father, whereas all the things that her father left her is being enjoyed by her sister, stepmom, and her stepsisters. So she lacks something, and she is in need of it. She is in need of her independence, her freedom, right? She wants to live like a lady, whereas she is working like a maid. And then there is 8a. The villain causes harm or injury to a member of a family, as in when when Ginny Weasley is abducted by Tom Riddle, and Ronald has to go and rescue her, and of course he's supported well by both Harry and Hermione, right? I'm using these stories because these are the most relatable to you, I believe. You must have read them often, seen them often. Or if you want to go for previous literature, classical literature, you could look into probably where in Twelfth Night, Viola and Sebastian, where they are absent from their home and they are made to they are victims of fate rather than victims of anything or any person or any villain in particular. Anyway, we'll continue this, we'll discuss this tomorrow, inshallah, and we'll look into further possibilities of possibilities of putting these steps into context of literary analysis. All right, so this is all for now. Thank you so much for your patient listening. Take care, stay safe. Assalamu alaikum.